click that on, and we should be live. Welcome, everybody. This is the RP Ginger here, and we are coming at you again with another session of Storm King's Thunder. This is session 46. The title is The Winds of Change. And since it's been a little bit, actually a month to the date I was checking it, it always feels like an eternity since we last played our game, and then I looked and I'm like, oh, it's actually only been 1 month. But since it's been 1 month and we're getting to the near end or the climax of this campaign, I figured I would do a special little recap, and we'll get into that right now. So, the northern peak of Sword Coast is known as the Savage Frontier. It is a harsh land filled with untamed wilderness and faintly dotted with fortified settlements. It is a dangerous land filled with monsters and bloodthirsty brigands, barbarians, and cutthroats. But for the past year, the Savage Frontier has grown more tense than ever. A foreboding tremor has been felt across the land, and this tremor has been brought forth by the foot of giants. An upheaval between them has turned this treacherous wildlands into a deadly battlegrounds on the brink of war. The Ordering, a god-given caste system imposed onto the giants to form order in their chaotic society, has recently been shattered, and it has thrown all Giant King into utter chaos. And our adventurers have been caught in the middle of it for the better part of this year, doing their best to get ahead of the bloodshed and subdue it once and for all. They have traveled far in the Savage Frontier, to the furthest reaches of the civilized frigid north and beyond, to the icy fortresses of towering frost giant jarls. They have went to colossus castles in the sky. They have fought in the bustling streets of the City of Splendor. They have been in forgotten temples of the old giant gods. They have battled many foes, giants, evil wizards, dragons, and more, and along the way they have lost some. But for each name that they vow to remember, they have made thrice in the way of allies. They have been caught in this tumultuous cataclysm and have uncovered those in the shadows who seek to watch the nations feud. Imrith, the dragoness of statues, the doom of the desert, has secretly been plotting to have Hecaton, the king of the storm giants, captured and comatose by having his wife first murdered, and then with her out of the way and him out of the way, she infiltrated the storm giants and baited the society into a civil war. After all of her pieces were placed, she then revealed her grand plan, stealing the Krolnor lore. That's not how you say it, but close enough. The scepter from the Princess Sarissa, petrifying her to the throne, and made a getaway, leaving the giants' own kind to finish off this weakened storm giants. But all hope is not yet lost, for the party has uncovered the whereabouts of Hecaton. And with a humble plea from a proud storm giant named Uthor, she asked the Knights of the Converging Storm, dubbed by the Princess Queen Sarissa of the Storm Giants, if they could go and rescue their king. For only he has the power to bring the giants back to heel. And with the sounds of battle from the sunken citadel of Maelstrom heard in the distance, the party teleported away to the city of Sails, Luskan, to call upon some friends they've made along the way in a last-ditch effort to find Hecaton. The winds of change are now blowing like a whirlwind as the conclusion grows nearer. So that's my dramatic recap for you guys. Did you feel the dramaticness of it, especially where I botched the pronunciation of that stupid fucking scepter? I don't think I've said it right once this whole entire campaign. Inspiration for anyone.
Never have.
Inspiration for anyone who can pronounce it. It's not a real collection of letters. I don't feel like it rolls off the tongue in any way. But anyways, you guys freshly teleporting away from Maelstrom, the first thing that hits your senses is the salty sea air of the Sword Coast. You get this cool wind of the winter breeze blowing on you as you're now near the coastline. You hear the sounds of grinding chunks of ice on the shoreline of the ocean. You immediately notice that you're in a heavy, wet, cold snow being teleported far up north to the city of Sails, Luskan, and in the distance, maybe a few 100 feet, you see the walled defenses of Luskan being split by the river Mira. As you collect yourselves, getting that feeling of instantly being teleported, like your stomach has just fallen away, sunken in, and torn from you, and then immediately chucked forth, you kind of look around and take in these cold, new senses, and you notice immediately the first thing kind of catching your guys' eyes besides the city walled off is a massive army of men stationed outside the gates of Luskan. Go ahead and make a perception check, everybody. And then let me know what you roll, because I'm looking elsewhere. I'm not looking at you guys right now. Okay? 14. Okay, very nice. Senses. And you know...
9.
What's that, Chris? For me.
Oh yeah, I gotta do your work for you. Your perception is... it is a plus... Where the... +1.
Oh, so it's a 20, 19 plus 1.
Okay, cool. And what did Warrendale roll? You also don't have fantasy grounds right now either.
20 total. I can see parts of it, so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just let me know if you need me to look anything up for you. Those of you who've rolled a 20, I think someone said a 14 also, that should be more than enough to notice that this army, they carry, several of the soldiers are carrying flags with an insignia on it. And it looks probably not to Reykjaviant, but to the rest of you who are familiar with the Sword Coast and the civilized territories, it looks familiar, yet entirely unique in some way. Those of you who rolled a 20 can see that the insignia on this flag is a crescent moon concealing a crowned stag with a winged sword running across the crowned stag.
Well, why is there so many things on that insignia?
It's a lot.
And by the way, this weather is much more enjoyable.
I feel like I would know that.
It's blah blah blah. What did Krista said? Because I can see it. I just don't know what it is.
Oh, Livy. I don't think she can see it with the 9. It's like she sees flags.
Well, it's a crest with a whatever Krista said. So Ray can see it. He just doesn't know what it is. Because I got a 20. I got the highest roll of all of us, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, anyone who wants to can make a history check. Absolutely. Anyone who is familiar with the Sword Coast and being civilized, we could definitely make a history check.
18.
Okay, 18 is more than enough to kind of connect the dots. You know that there's factions in the Sword Coast or in Faerû, and you know that there's the Harpers, the I'm blanking out, Emerald Enclave, the Zentarims, the Order of the Gauntlet, and the Lord's Alliance.
Okay. So
And these insignia looks kind of like all of them, yet combined.
okay, I can see Livy like with like listing off the symbols. Like, wait, hang on. There's a crescent moon, and there's a
Horse.
stat-
It looks like a horse on there. Yeah, and a sword. Yeah, there certainly is.
That doesn't sound like any. Like that's a little bit of. I know the crescent moon is for insert faction, and the swords for insert that faction. This sounds completely new.
Maybe they're finally working together.
That's impossible. You people don't do that.
Well, actually, considering that we all kind of have a giant of a problem, I could see that might be a big enough cause to rally everyone together. But
I work well with everybody.
that's
like you helped us in that fight back there. Is that what you mean?
Yes. I'm a bit flustered. It was a lot of work.
Yeah, clearly, it's always mind-boggling how much you're helpful, Warrendale.
Thank you.
Yes.
As you stand outside the outer reaches of Leskin, some of you pretty badly beaten, actually, on the brink of death, many of you, from the lightning strike of the ancient dragon Emerith. You feel like, I don't know, maybe, I'm sure Reich Livian's probably okay with the weather, but the rest of you probably aren't
I
enjoying
love
it
it
too much.
Absolutely love it. Think it's the greatest thing ever.
So bleedy, I'm ready to pass out.
Yeah. What's my current HP in max again? I'm sorry, I forgot
70 out of 95.
95. Okay.
yeah, like
Octavios, on the other hand, looks like he's probably barely conscious.
Yep, I'm having a rough time.
Yeah,
to be honest, doesn't he always look like he's having a rough time? Just
yes, he
saying. So in a way, like when he says that, Livy would be like, "Oh," and like offer a hand to like support or something. And just
He does need a new hand.
Yeah, I love the sarcasm.
I need like a shoulder to lean on. Come on.
Just keep pumping in front of shit for you guys.
Well, it was very much a surprising moment with that dragon that some of us are friends with, apparently. Not that one, I don't think, though, right?
Emerth? Oh no.
No, I'm not friends with that one.
She is something else.
I hope my friend the dragon is alright now.
It would be good for you, right?
What was your dragon friend's name?
Saul. I love Saul.
I don't have any potions.
It was that one we flew on that one time, right? And then you also talked to another guy that was a dragon but didn't look like a dragon, and then almost got us killed, right?
Yeah, well, if you're gonna talk about all the exaggerated facts, then
Well, I'm just saying it how I see it. Sorry. We're finally in a place that I kind of feel more comfortable in. So, are we gonna go inside there and maybe rest or something? Like, you look like you're about to die.
rest sounds good.
Warren can keep watch tonight. He looks like he's ready to go into battle again.
I am beat, I must say. I need a bit of rest, and my shoulders are a little sore.
It is on the moment of him saying "beat," I slap you so hard on your back that it knocks the wind out of you. That's right, beat, you there, little man. You didn't move that time, did you? Didn't see it coming. And I laugh and start walking towards walking towards the troops.
All right, everyone following the big barbarian, Mr. Reich Liviant.
Meanwhile, looking for a church or something that I can see that I recognize.
You would think that you probably have much better luck finding a church in the city walls. For right now, as you look around, it's just a narrow kind of, or a barren, frozen wasteland around you.
Well, I do have the ability of Shelter of the Faithful, so anybody who believes in remotely anything would probably take me in. So
Absolutely. You begin to head to the main gates of the city, to Gang Entryway, and you are immediately, as you kind of get closer, you notice that some of the soldiers there begin to notice your approach. Not seeing you before, they're kind of a bit on edge, and they reach for their weapons. And
good day to you all, as I say, hung from Livy and everyone's shoulders.
good day. What are you doing out here in the... You're not the merchants. What brings you to Luskin?
I was in a great fight with odds of that were against me, and I need somewhere to sleep. Me and my friends are tattered and would like to rest.
Just quickly out of character, haven't you guys been to Luskin before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never seen an army there though before.
Yeah.
Was Sunny with us?
Yes.
Yeah, Sunny would have been with you at that point.
You they look at you and say, "Yeah, you guys look pretty bad. Is whatever did this to you taken care of, or should we be expecting trouble? It's dangerous times right now. Was it giants? Did giants do this?"
No.
No.
Not all giants are bad, my friend. But
By no means.
there is confusion amongst their ranks right now.
They scoff. Not all giants is bad. You don't know. You must not be from around
We
these
know
parts.
much better than you, there, friend. Please make way so we can go in the city that my friends have already been in before.
I
highly
tell you, we
doubt
could
that.
possibly end this fight if you would just listen for a while. Maybe steer this army the way that we need to help end this war, settle all of the confusion, and get the giants back in line.
Make a Yeah, the one guard seems a bit angry by Reichlivian's words. You know better than me. How many have you lost to giants?
Well, they lost a great friend, to be honest, and my entire village. To be honest, I'm the only one left of my kind.
And yet
If,
you can call
if
giants
you-
friends.
I would call many of the giants I've met better friends than you at this point, sir. Would you please listen to those that are a bit more cordial than I am? And I do step back a couple steps. I would like to just assist on to whatever is being given.
Just look at this man and try to show the radiance of Octavius, the holiness in him, and just stare him down and be like, "I'm not lying to you."
Did you say that a couple of, or not a couple, like, because this is like maybe an army of 300 men now, and as you guys come, it's kind of like natural that a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them start to look to see what is going on. And as you say that, you hear in a bit of the crowd, you hear someone, I recognize that voice. Octavius! Octavius! Is that you? And pushing from the crowd is someone that you haven't seen in quite some time. Maybe you remember, maybe you don't, but he remembers you. A man kind of decked out in this chest plate armor, currently with a strap and a brooch on his right chest. That is a sword being carried by a gauntlet, and you see this man with this 5 o'clock shadow and this slick back long hair, late in his maybe 30s. Sir Beric from Bryn Shanders pushes forth and says, "Octavius! Livy! Warren! It's been so long! What are you guys doing?"
Surviving.
Surviving. Last I seen you, wasn't it actually around here, Fire Sphere or something? We went our own ways. I was with Belladora and that little kid, Cyric. I brought them to Waterdeep, and then
We have many stories since then, my friend. Please take us in. Let us rest. We will share.
yeah, and then he sees that the couple of the soldiers are at arms, and they say, "Whoa, man, put your at ease. These are good friends of mine." And he says, "Of course, you look badly injured. By Tyr's justice, I will bring anyone to harm if they have done anything wrong to you. Are your enemies near?"
We hope not.
Well, in these times, I think a lot of enemies are much nearer than we'd be more comfortable with. Come, I will bring you forth into Luskin. We are not stopping anyone. We are simply here to meet with the pirates. Where have you guys been? It's crazy times that we're in right now, don't you think? War upon us.
I think Octavius would like do a full fucking breakdown of everything, like a full divulge. Like if we need these guys, we need these guys, and like it'd be pretty fucking handy to have an army behind us. So I'm just gonna be like, Mr. Barrick, fucking dump.
Info dump.
Livy throwing in her twists with it as well to just.
But on the side of the giants and the dragons, like like obviously there's bad in each side, but more towards steering towards the resolve of the ordering, not the destruction of all giant kind.
Yeah. So, and then what that story basically tells him then, to his surprise, is that you guys basically were far up north in mostly uncivilized, like Bryn Shanders is technically a town, but then from Luskin, you basically went up into the spine of the world again, and then besides a brief few teleportations to Waterdeep and around, you guys have kind of not been in the main kind of civilized areas of the Sword Coast. So to his surprise, and probably to your guys' surprise maybe, or maybe not so much, he tells you that the current the Sword Coast is like in utter chaos and war right now. The giants are going around and destroying everything, and he tells you that it's as if a switch has been triggered and they have all went out on the offense. Like this is their last chance to destroy everything that they can. So the factions of Faerun, the Order of the Gauntlet, the Emerald Enclave, the Harpers, all of us, we have formed a coalition. We call it the Savage Coast Coalition, or the SCC. And we are currently doing what we can to war against the giants and eradicate them. You'll have a tough time convincing people that there is good giants right now, for all they've been doing is destroying everything that they come into contact with.
Well,
It's because their leader isn't possible to lead them right now, and that's what we're in the process of trying to fix there, sir.
Well,
And he kind of leans in and then leans back.
if you have sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Tell him about the paralyzation of the princess and how we are actually specifically looking for the lead giant to solve these issues right now.
Well, we are currently here. Our lead man is a section commander by the name of Neverander Brightflame, and we have been brought up here to parley with the pirates and possibly find ways to use their ships and port to refortify and defend the northern parts, for these less populated areas have just been being beat down by the giants. Luskin is one of the cities that has remained mostly untouched. If you guys have a way to stop this, I'm sure Neverander would love to hear it. And he'll start heading to the inners of the city, and you'll finally pass past the gate and into the common or familiar scenes of Luskin. You've spent some time here, and you remember it being this pretty large, populated, dense city of buildings and alleyways that all kind of caress down into the dock district, which is just absolutely a canvas of pirate ship sails that completely encase the entire bay. There's barely no open water in the bay, and it is a very familiar sight as you come to it and remember your time here, although it was short and action-packed. You look around and you kind of notice as you're walking through that the damage that was done in the battle that you guys had seems to, as far as you can see, be mostly undone, and the streets almost seem cleaner. People are walking around and going about their day, although they take notice of the soldiers and they walk you through. Sir Barrick tells you that he hopes that these free people of Luskin will see it in their hearts to help us, but they've been selfish thus far. The city is run by pirates. I don't know if you've been here before, or what. I guess you did tell them that you've been here before, so you'll know how the pirates are. But right now, without their help, the north is completely vulnerable. And he'll begin to walk you through town, and you see the familiar sights of the Hoss Tower, the dock district and the narrow alleyways. You even walk past the tavern that you guys stayed in and completely wrecked in a battle, and Livy spent an entire night trying to repair it and get the party out of debt. And you notice that the tavern does seem to be in good repair, luckily to you, but you question maybe if you probably should maybe avoid that tavern and find a different, or inn and find a different one maybe. And you begin to head to the town center. And in the town center, you see that there is a force of maybe 50 of the SCC, I'm going to call them, the Savage Coast Coalition, seem to be lined up at attention. And there's this fountain that's kind of in the center of town, and a bunch of people are gathered around watching. And you see this dwarf with this bright, whiskey, long, fiery beard, decked out in head-to-toe armor. And in the distance, you can see him kind of waving his hands and the murmuring of his voice as he seems to be in some kind of heated argument with a small group of pirates, maybe about 10 pirates. You can just clearly tell that they are just by the way that they're dressed and carrying themselves. Most of them have cutlass on. It's still about a distance. You can't clearly make out who they are or whether you recognize them or not, but in the distance you can definitely tell that there seems to be some kind of argument. What do you guys do? And Sir Barrick would say, well, it appears that the negotiations aren't going as well as to be expected with these pirates, or sorry, free people, he air quotes.
So again, out of game, because I've never been here before, but I know this place. Corey does. Don't you guys have a pretty good ally here? Like that guy that you saved everything for? It looked like he was a bad guy that turned out to be a good guy at the end. Isn't that this place? Fought all those pirates and screwed that bar up, and then had that fight out at the end, and then I don't remember his name is, but there was a guy that you guys. That was like the Pirate King or something like that.
So I'll look over this. Sir Barrick. So what is it you are trying to do? You want the help of these pirates to looking to get their aid, perhaps use their ships and such? Is that what is? Should they be a part of this guild that you've created?
Well, everyone knows that Luskin has the fastest and largest fleet. It's why they're able to be a free city, a city of pirates, because no one dares challenge them. And they are, unfortunately, good for the economy. They do a fair amount of trading, and for the most part, the pirates of Luskin don't particularly raid our ships per se, like the Waterdeep or Neverwinter. They seem to go more eastward. That's not the right direction, I don't think. Westward. So with the ships and the port of Luskin, we would be more able to fortify the north, quickly sailing where we need to and dropping off food, shipment, and supplies. Benigo Kurth, the King of Sails, is said to have a fleet of over 1,000 ships. That's more than double of what Waterdeep has.
Arceus drops to a knee, just bleeding out.
And who is it that is making deals with this man? Who is this person that you follow, this leader of this SCC?
Neverender Brightflame. He is just currently our section leader, a section commander. The coalition itself, I believe there was some kind of meeting at Waterdeep. L'Ariel Silverhand called it and bartered and went back and forth to finally get all the different factions to align for united we could stand a chance against the giants. It's actually pretty impressive. I don't even think in my lifetime this has ever happened. As you guys are just kind of sitting here talking, you notice that the argument by this section commander Neverender and the group of pirates seems to be getting more heated, and I imagine that you're kind of moving closer as things go on to get a better idea of what's going on. Sir Barrick's bringing you there, and you hear a voice boom out this soft, or this little but boisterous voice that yells out, "Listen here, you whiskered child. We don't give a damn about your stupid coalition or your problems with the big ones. We are pirates and we do what we want when we want, you ninny hammer." And then the dwarf answers back, "Whiskered child, I am more than a century old and a section commander of this coalition. We are here to defend the nation from a great incursion that very well may doom us all." He begins to tell all who will listen as he turns around, and as you get closer, seeing it go on, you see this little girl at the head of these 9 pirate men. The guy's looking around and just talking to the city, begging for their help, and this little girl is standing behind him, mimicking him and kind of doing a makeshift voice impersonation. And then as he speaks out, "We need Luskan ships," she's like, "We need Luskan ships, and your port to defend the reinforcements of the North and the free people. Without your help, the free people in your cities will be crushed too under the foot of our common enemy." And Warrendale, go ahead.
Isn't that your friend, Warren?
Yes. If that's what you call her, yes.
Yeah, and it is.
CC hasn't changed.
It is definitely Lily Arbuckle that you see with these 9 pirate, rough-looking men and women. And she answers as this guy is basically asking all for help to unite against the common enemy. "We here in Luskan aren't scared of a bunch of big, milk-sopped pillocks. If the giants want to fight, then tell them to bring it on. I'm the princess of the Sword Sea, and I'm waiting for them." And then the Neverender replies back that one way or another, we will be commandeering these fleets. We would prefer it to be peacefully. And Lily absolutely bursts out laughing. "Commandeer us." And then she just literally can't seem to speak. Like it's just so funny what he said. "With what? That tiny platoon that you marched up to our gate with? That's like 3 ships worth of men. Commandeer, do you even know where you are?" And then the small group of pirates, the 10 men, they somehow almost seem to be growing more imposing. It's not magical or anything, but it's just, as she says this, they just kick on like their hardened, kind of gruff-looking, intimidating stature. And it's as if these 10 men seem to almost be menacing the 50 men. And you also see the soldiers standing at attention, now kind of questioning whether this is going to come to a fight or not. And then Neverender, kind of seeing this, backs up a bit and says, "Surely there must be someone in charge here, someone rather than this snot-nosed kid." And when he says that, Lily just absolutely goes off, and the pirate men snap out of it and grab her, and she's just swinging with her claw hand and fist, trying to come to blows with this Neverender. And you just hear her yelling out, "You damn little cockalorum, who are you calling a snot-nosed kid?" And she actually is just trying to her best to get to and harm this dwarf, who they are similar in size, but this is a fully grown adult dwarf talking to this 13-year-old pirate girl with a hooked hand and an eye patch. Are you guys doing anything as this altercation is going on?
I like her.
I think Livy's amused.
Like out a bit of a chuckle, of course.
Is this theater?
Close enough.
This is looks like the spirit of my people. This is, and he kind of just leans over on his very large weapon, and just kind of leans over on it because he also is feeling very awful, and to prop himself up, and just takes in the sights.
I'm not helpful here, guys, because I've never been a part of this, but all three of you have.
She's a feisty young one. Entertaining.
You hear a loud, I'm on mute. You hear a loud squawk up ahead up above you. And suddenly a massive shadowy wingspan begins to block out the light over these two squabbling forces. And as you look up, everyone kind of realizes this is coming, hearing a thrust of some powerful wings. You see these black and faintly red shimmering feathers, and this big creature that begins to fly down, and you guys realize it's a griffin, and it's currently being mounted by a curly haired female dwarf. As she lands right in the middle of the two factions, the pirates and the SCC, and breaks them up. Another griffin lands closely beside and begins to defensively ruffle its feathers. And you guys maybe recognize her as Deshara, the retired Griffin cavalry that you met in Fireshear, and she looks over to Neverander and says, "Neverander Bright Flame, I didn't take you as the type to be picking on little girls." And you still see that Lily, like, he actually looks more intimidating of Lily than Lily is of him, because she's still just trying to do her best to fight her way through the pirate men and get to him and give him a whipping. And Neverander looks at Deshara and says, "Give me a break. This foul-mouthed little ruffian won't even listen to any sort of reasons. We're at war, for God's sakes. Clearly there's someone that can listen to reason around here." And you see that Deshara hops off the black-feathered griffin and says, "Neverander, I would be careful who you're calling a foul-mouthed rascal, as you so elegantly have deemed her. You do know who you're speaking with, don't you?" And he says, "Yeah, some little twerp that needs to be taught manners." And Deshara corrects him, "No, you're talking to none other than the second Admiral Commander of Banago Kurth, the King of Sails. You're speaking to Second Fleet Admiral Lily Arbuckle." And then, as she says that, there's a click of recognition. A gulp, a nervous gulp from Neverander. And he says, "Second Admiral. Well, foul-mouthed rascal, that's more of a kind of a jovial thing that we dwarfs from Waterdeep kind of say to, just tease and torment. It was not meant in any kind of offensive way, Second Fleet Admiral. Clearly, it's just and he's just backpedaling.
Close enough to them.
Yeah, you guys can, I'm just talking to myself. Feel free to interpose at any time here.
So yeah, Warren will step forward. Our Neverander isn't quite wrong with this whole thing. I mean, she is a bit foul-mouthed and quite a little rascal. I don't know about the second Admiral thing, and I think he takes it to a bit of extreme. But I have to kind of agree with the man. He'll give her a bit of a wink.
She at first hears you kind of say this, and still in a bit of a fury, just like, who dare says that I'm, and then looks and, "Warren? Zombie man Warren? Is that really you?"
Still alive.
And she comes running across and jumps and gives you a big old hug.
Stop that, I don't like hugs.
That's a lie.
Oh, you still smell.
Just a little bit.
You still smell just as gross, although I admit you're looking a little better, less like a zombie. Kind of disappointing. You got your innards inside, and she gives you a shot in the kidney, a punch where you were currently opened up from the last fight where she found you.
Yep, still in there.
Oh.
I hope so.
Well, that's disappointing. What brings you back to Luskin? You would also see the griffin, the black feathered one, Livy. has actually started to head towards you guys, and you would recognize the griffin as Veltrex, and she is currently trying to like come up to you, and you're like, oh, Veltrax, you recognize me, but then quickly realize that she's like peeking above and looking at your bag and pecking. She seems to be trying to get at something. She smells something good in there and wants it, and then nuzzles into you.
I'm like, my head right now is like, do I have leftover pancakes? Maybe. And so, yeah, she'll share.
Yeah, you pull it out, and then both griffins, Veltrax and Smooches, I believe was his name. They are eagerly awaiting the pancakes that they have not had in a long time. It's weird that griffins eat pancakes, but they've become accustomed to yours, and they smelt the leftovers.
I know what I'm good for.
Yeah, and Lily is just absolutely shocked that you're back, Warren. I thought you had some big giant incursion to take care of. That's why I was giving this guy a hard time. I knew that you guys would have probably saved the day, but if I'm being honest, you're doing a shit job. You brought these idiots showed up, and now they're asking to use our ships and stuff. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, it's more complicated than that, but we'll have to have a sit and a bit of a drink, and I'll get you some sugar, water, or juice or something you can drink. And I will tell of our tales. You can meet my new friend here. It's quite lively. Motion towards Reich.
Yeah, Reich just gives a wave.
Yeah, and she hops back, letting go of the hug, and it's kind of your first time really getting a good look at her now as we take her in. And Warren, when you met her, she was in rags, not even a proper shoe to her foot, holes in it. Her hair was just this nest of black hair curled up in all kinds of different manner. But now as you look at her, her hair still a bit messy, but actually is kind of neatly curled, this black jet curly perm-like hair to her head, definitely a bit more clean looking. And you see that she's wearing this miniature black and gold trimmed pirate captain jacket, and there seems to be some insignia on the back of it. The entire jacket looks like it's stitched in this fine gold trimming. You see that she's on top of the medallion of her parents that she's wearing. She's now decked out in golden necklaces with jewels. She has rings and gems all across her finger. She's has a much cleaner face now, and you can just see the youthful kind of freckly smiled face grinning ear to ear as she sees you, and you definitely get the sense that she's doing much better since you have last seen her. And she pokes you with her mounted left arm, which now is a polished, pristine looking silvered hook instead of the rusty old one that she used to use. She's still toting the fake eye patch for whatever reason, but yeah, she looks like she's doing good.
Look her over at this. You've got a bit of chains, you've got rings, and this excellent uniform. When did you become a pimp?
Well, you heard, didn't I? Kurth made me second fleet admiral. I'm like the second in command now, one step closer to that old bastard dying and me taking over.
So you're like a turd in a bucket instead of a turd on the street.
Who you calling turd? You're the one that smells. I thought I smelt something coming in when I was arguing with that guy. I thought it was his bad breath, but it was you after all, old man. I can't really call you a zombie anymore. You do look old as shit, though. Ugh.
Wait, Olivia, this little girl's in charge of all of this.
She likes to think
Very
so.
much.
He laughs.
Wait,
He goes,
I know what's going on here. Sorry to cut you off. She points at you. I know what's going on here. You heard, didn't you, Warren? You heard that I was second fleet admiral, and now you've come crawling back to me to beg to be part of my crew, the Arbuckle Pirates. Well, mister, let me tell you, that ship has sailed. That was a one-time offer, and you're out of luck now. I got my own crew. Look. And she points at the 9 men and women behind her. We're the Arbuckle Pirates. And she shows you the insignia on her back. And it's a It's a buckle with 2 hooks as crossbones going across it. That's right. You're out of luck, mister.
As you know, I am Warren, and these are my magnificent men. So you got your clan, I got my clan, and we'll have to gather together later. What do you say? Have come a drink with us, and perhaps tell us what has been happening here. We have plenty of things, and my friend, you remember Octavius? Yes, of course you do. Of course you do. He's looking a bit shittier than I. He's a bit more of a zombie now. He needs a bit of help.
Yeah.
If you
Jesus.
might be able to lend something.
He looks terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Looks like shit, I know.
Ugh. Is he infested with anything? Stay near. I don't want anything getting on my coat.
He might be. I don't know of who he slept with lately, but perhaps. But
No, little girl, we're not.
and he lived in the mountains for a long time, and he likes the snow, so I think he's a little whack too. But don't worry, they're good people. Good people.
I mean, they must be a little whack if they're hanging out with you, right?
They think I'm their leader or something. I don't quite get it, but hey, if they want to prance behind me, then all is well. Olivia makes hellish pancakes too. So we keep her for that.
Olivia, please
Leo.
make him stop talking and talk to her woman to woman or something. Please. Do you know her boss? Do you know, like?
No, she
holy
is.
crap.
Things are a little different here, and she has the spirit and attitude. Like, she got this.
She looks at Ryglivian, who's this towering barbarian Azamar. He doesn't know that you're an Azamar, but as Warren tells him that she's from the snow, she goes, "Oh, you're one of those barbarians from the north, are you? Ah,
Yes.
Big caveman. Me, Lily. Me, pirate. Nice.
We need to talk a little
Meet
slower
you.
for him.
Warren, don't encourage that. Lily.
It's hilarious, admit it.
Yeah. Okay. Very funny, young lady.
We need to
it's,
work together, not apart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'll pat him on my face and pass it.
Yeah, Desharo will cut in and say, Octavius is right. Lily, you can't. I know you're just giving this guy a hard time, but he's here for a reason, and it's a dangerous one. And she says, I know. I was just fucking with him. You know, he just so easy. Look at him over there. He's just like this bearded little child, just ready to have a temper tantrum at any moment. I couldn't help myself. And she begins to laugh. But, all right, I've had my fun. Let's go see Kurth, and we'll figure it out. Come on. I'll bring you whatever your name is. He looks back and he's Never Under. Yeah, never remember. Sure, come on this way.
So good.
She grows on you a little bit, right?
It's she.
I think she's hilarious.
She's rather funny, but I didn't train my whole life for what we did already, and gonna take that from that little shit. Cause she has a boss, right?
Yeah,
Not if you ask her.
Deshara will say yes, she has a boss, and I think that Kurth giving her that position has went straight to her head. She's already walked away now, but she still means well.
It hasn't made her any taller.
Don't tell her that though. She is second admiral to one of the most dangerous pirate fleets in all of Faerun.
Have you ever met these people? They're friends.
Are you asking Deshara?
No, I'm talking to my group.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Some of them are.
You could say that, yes.
So who's this Karth? You know exactly who he is.
He was the king of the pirates, correct?
Yeah, he's the king. He's the king of all this.
Yeah, Benigo Kurth, who goes by Kurth, is the king of sails, the king of Luskan, the pirate king.
And we had a massive battle against him and so on and so forth, and then it was awesome. But yeah, there was a cat here at that point.
Yeah, the young little pirate didn't like him very much, but he was watching after her or something. I don't know.
Yep.
It sounds compelling. So then, I guess we should really talk to him. That Griffin lady, can you talk on behalf of what's going on here? Because the dwarf is useless.
I'm a dwarf too. She holds out her hand, and Griffin lady, you could actually call me Deshara.
Deshara, sorry.
No problem. What's your name? Big mighty fellow. And she looks up to you, and you're probably like she's probably like at your like thighs.
Mid thigh, yeah. I will, to be respectful, I will drop to one knee, so that I'm near her height, but still probably chest to head. And I go, my name is Reich Liviant. I am I forgot what I was fucking called. What was I before all this shit went down? I can't remember what it is. On my sheet was written on there.
She looks at you. Reich Liviant forgot what it's called. That's an interesting name.
Wow, come on.
I'm just messing with you. I actually don't know either.
Yeah, but I am the and,
Keeper of some stone or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was keeper of the Moonstone, but I had a title. I don't remember what it is. But and I'm here to serve until this is over, and then I will be on my way, hopefully to something.
Excellent. Well, we're all in this together. The giants really don't care who's smushed under their feet, and it seems like they're pretty ample to smush as many as they can right now. So yeah, nice to meet you. I actually met these three back in a city of Fireshear. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but they got us out of a heap of trouble, but they also seem to be really good at getting into a heap of trouble.
They're very good at that.
Good people nonetheless, though.
They're better than crappy.
Yeah. And she was saying, I have no problem bringing you guys down to Kurth, but if you don't mind, I was wondering if I could show you something first.
Do you have any healing or anything that might be able to help out
Oh,
healer?
God, look at him. He looks like he's dead over there. Yeah, Octavius. Quick, we should probably get him somewhere. I know, Alice. Alice will be able to. Come, we'll go to the Stay Stale Respite.
That's the town. No, you guys can't go there. That's the bar. All right, I remember all these things, but yeah, no, you guys don't want to go there. Reich's like, yeah, let's go.
Do you follow?
I will go anywhere I am taken.
Yeah, so she's going to bring you to a hospital, she says. And
I spent a lot of time in that hospital healing people, I believe.
Yeah.
Didn't they get blown up by a fireball?
Yeah, you remember the Stay Sail Respite as an underground sewer secret hospital hidden from the pirates. So you're not eager to go back there, but she begins to bring you through the town, walking with the griffins close behind, who are occasionally actually would Veltrex, or not Veltrex, probably too proud, but Smoochies would probably bow down and offer to let you ride Octavius, since you guys are familiar with them. You look pretty bad.
Yeah, I'll flop over. I got nothing left, so.
You begin to walk through the town, and as you're going through, you do notice, since the last time you've been here, it is a lot cleaner, a lot nicer. There's not just pirates randomly fighting and destroying the seats, the streets. Sorry, destroying the sheets. Oh boy. There's a lot less garbage and refuge. The streets are looking a lot more hospitable. And everyone, give me a perception check as you are walking through.
Yeah, there's a 5.
20.
Nice.
21.
Yeah, you notice that upon the streets being cleaner, there's other new construction that has been done. There is a new kind of drinking well, water for all of the people, which is definitely not something that was done before. You see that there has been libraries built, even a couple of temples that didn't seem to be around before. And then finally, as you're walking through the streets, you see a hospital. which definitely wasn't there before. She doesn't bring you to the sewers. She brings you to an actual stone building, and on it is a sign that says the Stay Sail Respite. And she says, after the explosion that arcane prick pulled, Kurth actually brought most of the pirates together and rebuilt the city. And we figured that if it's ever going to get to he figured that pirates kind of having a dangerous job and whatnot, a proper hospital was in need. So he helped Alice build this. And she brings you in. You do see the familiar wavy brown hair. I'm just dumping every single NPC of all time in Luskin on you guys. Alice, the brown, wavy-haired, kind of freckly-cheeked, big rosy red cheeks, these deep green eyes, in these priest clothing. She looks busy going around tending to people, healing. There's a bunch of other nurses and other priests that she now has with her going about the place, tending to people. You're brought to a desk where a secretary kind of checks you in. What seems to be bothering you? You kind of go through the formalities, and you're brought to a bed, Octavios, where you're told that a priest will attend to you shortly in a couple minutes. Anything else in particular you guys are doing before that happens?
Really seems like they take care of their own. It's admirable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he doesn't, he knows nothing of how it was before, obviously. And
Yeah, exactly.
He's very impressed with what he sees. He says, feels like home. Because my village would have been very much like this. Taking care of your own. And he looks at one of the beds sitting next to it, and he's also in really bad shape, and kind of just sits on one. Maybe it does like a little or whatever. It's like
almost
whatever.
Gives under your weight.
Yeah, and I just kind of lay there next to Octavius and go, "We're gonna be all right, my friend."
Couple minutes pass, and before long, Alice actually is the one that comes and attends to you guys, and she looks over to Warrendale and says, "What is it about you that is just people with their guts hanging out? Are you just a walking storm of trouble? Last time it was you almost dead, now it's your friends. Why am I not surprised?"
Trouble seems to follow me. Keeps life interesting.
You sure you're not the one that's trouble?
Might be.
Do you
clearly is.
Do you at least have freaking money this time?
Well, you're not gonna charge me, are you? It's a little absurd.
Well, there's a
Guy's
whole
dying and
heap
you want
load
money.
of dishes that we can send you in the back to clean for the next couple of days if you want the charity work.
Did you know that I had a servant recently? My friend here, it's quite large. He's good at digging ditches and cleaning such things. He will gladly work this off, don't you worry.
Yeah, I'm super not interested. She kind of pushes by you and begins to tend. Octavios, good to see you. Wish it was on different terms. And she begins to pump you full of some healing. She says that you got some pretty sizable wounds here. I don't know what the hell it is about you guys and being on the brink of death, but to each their own, and pumps you full of 30 healing.
Giants tend to do that to people.
It's not going to be a problem with funds, ma'am. And I don't know much about money, but I have a pocket full of gold, and I just put some on the bed in front of me.
Nice. Excellent. Now she is using the spell Cure Wounds at a bit of a higher level, so 30 onto Octavios. Unfortunately, I didn't roll as good for you, Reykjavian, and you only get 19 healing. And
Yeah, whatever.
she says, I'm a bit tapped out. It's been a busy day today. If you guys want to rest the night, you're more than welcome to. If you want to take a short rest here and call it, I won't.
Just so we could sleep for the night and meet with this Kurth or whoever tomorrow. What time of the day is it, Chris?
It's around midday, and
midday.
She would say, yeah, if you're going to go meet Kurth, I don't reckon you're going to get any rest there. They're a bunch of party animals, although maybe that's how he at least probably rests. She points at Morindel, but then smiles.
Who looks sparkling, freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And
I know how to dodge and weave.
Maybe just an hour.
Livy, what about you? Could I interest you in any healing?
And Livy would kind of think like, oh yeah, I feel pretty miserable. If you have any, I'll take whatever you can lend.
All right, I have to give you a little bit less here. I'm tapped out of my higher powers, and then she kind of channels forth and gives a last little bit. And you only get 12, which is almost as good as. That's hilarious.
All good.
And how much gold do you plop down, right, Livian? Because this is definitely not normally like a community kind of thing. She does it for people in need, but you guys are adventurers.
Yeah, I don't know how much money I have. You know what I mean?
You actually have 0 money on your character sheet. You have some gemstones, actually.
But it's only because, like, they've never given him any money. You know what I mean? So, like,
You do have 10 gemstones on your person if you want to dump those out.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. She looks at them, all 10 of them. You can tell by the look on her face that it's clearly not enough, but she sees your intent and gives you a smile. Oh, thank you. Very charitable.
Then can we just have an hour or so?
Absolutely. Take a load off, rest up, and we probably owe you anyways, so...
We owe them, but you must have known the cat then.
Yes, I was. Not well, but I do remember her.
Wonderful. Everybody's speaking highly of her. So how many hit die do I have? Hit die that I've used?
Let me see what your character sheet says. It says you have all 10. So yeah, anyone that wants to spend a hit dice, Deshara would ask you guys, like if you want to rest, it's more, yeah, you can hang out here. She's just like, I guess I'll just sit here and patiently wait to show you when I want to show you. Yeah, take your time. It's fine. It's not like I'm doing anything. She kind of just says.
So what has been happening here since we left? It looks like things are going well.
Well, you know, me myself, after leaving Fire Shear, you know that I was kind of just had a little griffin roost over there. But after meeting you guys and getting into all the shenanigans that we got into, it kind of reminded me of the days when I was a Griffin Cavalry rider. And, you know, although I'm a bit older and retired now, it kind of stirred that old heart. And Fire Shear didn't feel right anymore. And Veltrex and Smooches and Screecher, her Griffin, seemed like they weren't content in Fire Shear, so we headed to Luskin and seen what we could do here. It's kind of what I want to show you, actually. But by all means, just let's hang out here. You guys look like you've been beat up, so I completely understand.
I feel wonderful.
Yeah, you particularly look fine, which I have to question whether or not you are pulling your weight, because your friends shouldn't be on the brink of death and you not a scratch on you.
Because he's a coward.
No, I just get out of the way when giants swing.
Yeah, so yeah, you guys long rest, spend your hit dice, 30 minutes goes by, and she says, or I think it's probably an hour.
Yeah, it's an hour.
Yeah,
That was a short rest, right?
Yeah, hour goes by, and she says, well, it's up to you guys. I can take off and meet you again if you want to hang out here longer, but otherwise we could hit the road. I'll show you what I want to show you, and then we'll go see Kurth and Lily. Make sure that I'm not picking on that poor Neverender too bad. You know, he's not really much of a people person, but he does mean well.
I think we should move. And I look at the rest of every minute.
All right. Well, come this way. It's not too much further. I swear. and she begins walking you through the streets again, about a 5-10 minute walk away from the dock district. And she says, yeah, so after reminding me of the heydays, the kind of fun that I had with you, there's just something stirring in me in the Griffins, and I realized that maybe we could do a little more in these troubling times. And she comes around the bend and she shows you that she has built in the city another roost for the Griffins, and there are about 6 other Griffins. Screecher is one of the ones that you recognize, who are currently training with what looks like makeshift kind of city guard men and women, currently trying their best in these match made pieces of armor and different kind of gear that they're wearing. It doesn't look like high-end stuff, but they're all trying to mount on to the Griffins in different stages and do drills on them, although barely any are actually succeeding to any reasonable means. You see one of the guards manages to actually get on the back of the Griffin and stay on, but it begins butting and kicking, and he trying to fire a bow and arrow, but just shoots it into the air and just says, "Look out!" as arrow shoots off into the distance. And she says, yeah, they're a motley bunch, but I'm sure with a little bit of time and training, they'll tune up.
We hope anyway.
Yeah, pretty cool. But this isn't actually what I wanted to show you, but I have to ask. It's been kind of bugging me. Why isn't Sunlit with you?
She's gone.
Gone on to help out in other ways, you mean?
Octavius will pull out her weapon, just kind of hold his head down and say, no, she is no longer with us or anywhere else.
She saved us with her life.
Well, she realizes now the kind of question that she just asked and is somber for a moment.
She is in that great big box in the sky.
She says, she smiles at that, but says, I'm truly sorry to hear that. And you look over, it's as if Veltrex actually is like listening to the conversation. And she sees, the Griffin sees Octavius pull out the weapon and squawks at you for a moment as if like yelling. And then she...
Everything I've ever heard of her, she's wonderful.
Pushes by you guys and heads into the roost. Well, Dashara says, it's a shame that she couldn't be here, Sunny. But I still wanna show you guys. And
I heard she used to fly those things with you.
Yes, Veltrex was actually a good friend of hers. I believe they rode together many times. And she pulls you into the roost, and you immediately smell the smells of animal. It's full of hay. You see a couple of carcasses from freshly devoured animals and feathers absolutely everywhere. And then you see laying in a nest is Veltrex, and smooches, nudges past you guys and goes and heads down and lays next to Veltrex. And Dashara begins to tell you that after you guys left, Veltrex started acting really kind of strange. And she says, I'm surprised I didn't notice sooner. And as you guys step closer, Veltrex actually puffs up her feathers momentarily and begins to squawk at you guys angrily again. And Dashara holds up her hand. Whoa, easy, Veltrex, easy. And she says, I'm surprised I didn't notice sooner, but... And then you hear the sounds, small baby coos and hoots. And Dashara comes forward, and nestled into Veltrex is 3 tiny baby little griffins. And Deshara says, it turns out that Veltrex was a mama, and Smooch is here. Well, he's not quite as innocent as he looks. And she pulls you in, and as Veltrex calms, you guys get a good look at the griffins. These sweet baby little furry beaked creatures. They look kind of awkward and hideous, but at the same time super cute. And she says, I was honestly hoping that Sunny would be here to, well, give them a name. It didn't feel right that I did it. But I guess you guys being next to kin, it only makes sense, right?
Livy volunteers as tribute for this.
Then name them Sunny. Sunlit.
Soul.
Sunlit. She had a longer name, you said before.
And she says, well, up to you guys. Veltrex, I didn't even know that she was a girl, to be honest, but yeah, she's a proud mama, and they're doing good. And with these 3 baby griffins and the 8 that I currently have working here, I think we'll have quite the force of our own if those giants do get a little too restless and try their way up here.
How quickly do they grow?
Take a few months before they begin to be a bit to handle, and then a couple of years and they'll be bigger than, or like a year or so they'll be bigger than me, and a few more years than that they'll hit like almost the size as Veltrex.
Interesting.
Depends if they're Livy's eagerly awaiting to dish out the names. Go ahead. She if you ask really nicely to Veltrex, she might let you hold them.
Livy would love that. I definitely think Livy would agree with the sentiment that one of them should be named after Sunlit. And,
Sunlit in the darkness, yeah.
Yeah. And
is there a black?
I don't have names for the other 2 yet, but she definitely would be wanting to like interact and just like
Livy's like, it's far too much pressure.
Oh, I'm sure she can come up with names. I feel under pressure. It's like, what name would Livy give them? I don't know, but they would be awesome. Sunlit in the darkness.
What about Warren? It seems that Octavius has dropped from the call, but what about you?
He mentioned in the chat that he's very exhausted.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling well or something.
Okay, gotcha.
I'd let Livy have the naming properties. I'm not much of a namer. I'd name it Beaker and Bird, but I'm not good with names.
That's incredibly terrible.
Yes, it is. I admit it.
Oh, goodness.
They're so fluffy.
Pancakes.
Why don't we?
Well, if you guys don't have anything off the top of your
Zephyr
head,
should be one of them.
What's that?
Zephyr, because aren't they his?
Yeah, they were originally Zephyros's griffins for sure.
That's
What? Zephyr?
Is that the other giant you were talking about that you lived in his castle?
Yeah. I think the first one, the first friendly one that
He was a silly old coot.
He was great.
So we got Sunlit, we got Pancakes, and we got Zephyr. That's 3 solid.
I was joking about the pancakes one, but sure.
Fantastic. That is the
That
greatest.
is actually
possibly
3
go with.
great Griffin names on the spot. I'm actually really proud of you guys.
Pancakes are fantastic.
Yeah. Well,
Pancakes must be the brown one.
yeah, Pancakes is the milky brown one.
A nice golden, like the perfect.
Yeah, just a perfect.
All right, that has been done. And she says, well, you know where I'll be. I think I'm going to be hanging out in Luskin for a while. You guys are more than welcome to visit anytime. Take them for a ride if you need any lessons like that. We'll be here helping out the best we can.
Would they support someone of my size?
A really strong one definitely would, but it's a bit of a
Mama's
process to
oh.
train them. What's that, sorry?
It's very interesting that the Catwoman was able to make such a friendship with such a magnificent creature.
Yeah, honestly, Veltrex is one of the stubbornest griffins that I have ever met. She only lets me and Livy, or not Livy, sorry, me and Sunlit, I think, are the only two that ever have mounted her. So it's impressive indeed. I've been training with griffins most of my life. Apparently, that was her first.
It's wow, that brings back a whole bunch of memories, man. That was so fun back then. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's she seems like quite the person.
Indeed.
Not without fault, but
well,
quite the person.
Make sure that you guys don't let her sacrifice go in vain. Go and stop whatever this is before more people like her are lost to it.
Do you think that the pirates here will help us?
Yes, honestly do.
I think perhaps when we get a chance to talk to the Arbuckle crew and whatever that pirate guy's name is, perhaps we can.
Kurth has honestly changed considerably. He's a lot more active around here. I think it has something to do with the relationship that he's forming with Lily, but he's actually done quite a bit for this city lately, and he still acts.
Nice.
What's that? Sorry.
The town looks quite nice.
Yeah, he's done a lot, and he's even made alliance with the Arcane Brotherhood. He still acts like a tough, grumpy old man, but I think he really has a soft spot for that girl.
Is that his daughter?
No. Although it might as well be.
Wonderful. She's a hoot.
She's something, she says.
See, I told you she grows on you.
Well, I shouldn't take up any more of your time, she says. It's good seeing you all. When all this is said and done, definitely feel free to come back here and tell me all the tales. I'm sure you guys have a bunch, and we'll have even more by the time this is over. Pancakes, Zephyr, and Sunlit will be here and waiting.
Wonderful. All right, let's be off.
All right. You need me to take you to... You guys know your way around, or should I take you down?
Well, these two.
I think perhaps we should be able to remember.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
we can wing it.
I
see what you did there. All right.
That's fantastic jokes you have, Wendell.
I knew you'd appreciate it. Even people of simple intelligence get it.
Oh my god.
Oh, I'm gonna smash. I cannot wait to smash this motherfucker so much at the end of this.
PvP at the end.
Oh, he knows it's coming. Anyway.
I can just see it. We're having our victory dance and
Yeah.
yeah, and then we just have we just boom, like whoa, what just happened?
Picture like the hawk and the event just doosh.
Exactly. Well, you pretty much got that today already. So, yeah. So, I would say that we should definitely move forward and try to go towards that. Reich would be asking about any information that you have about this car, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? It's on the walk over. So maybe I could not play so stupid, if you don't mind there, Chris.
Yeah, sure. I don't remember what you guys remember as players. If you need a refresher, it's fine. Let me know.
Well, I know he was the king of sales or whatever it was, kind of leader of the pirates, and he had a beef with the Kraken, which I'm going to assume he still does. And I forget, did Drake ever come into knowledge about the whole Kraken thing with Sunlit?
No, I think that kind of all bypassed after it kind of faded off after Luskin.
I know he had the beef with that and a bit of a fight afterwards. He has quite a notable spear, but
really,
I don't think there's any major bits, really.
But he's gruff, huh?
Just a little rough around the edges like myself, but he's a good man. Handsome like me.
Wow, that's not saying much. And yeah, well, let's do this. I kind of feel like we're maybe outside because were we at that same pub that he owned, type deal thing?
Yeah, so you guys begin heading down to the Dock District. It's not a super long walk, maybe about 20 minutes now, and we're kind of getting into evening at this point. And you do pass further kind of conditions. It's a familiar trend that the city looks much better. You even pass a bathhouse, and you head down to the Dock District, which is still absolutely just littered from every inch of the dock with different ships, pirate ships, all with these massive sails kind of just sitting open and just absolutely covering the bay, all kind of toting these different pirate flags. Many of them have a similar one, the Kurth sigil. And you head up to the Cutlass Inn Tavern. And you remember this tavern as being this kind of medium-sized, shitty-looking tavern of different pieces of broken-down boats, all just hammered together to make this like makeshift tavern. But as you come around the corner looking for it now, you see that it's absolutely still there, although it now is about the size of a man of war. This absolutely towering tavern, different parts of ships still used to put it together, but it's at least tripled in size now. And you see that down here in this dock district, it's much more bustling and eccentric. You see pirates all just having a merry time, drinking and joking with each other. These are definitely the most friendly pirates that you've ever come across now. And remembering your last time as being here, it's a much different feel. None of them are fighting. They're all maybe kind of having a bickers and whatnot and jousting at each other. But for the most part, they're just drinking. You see a couple of them swinging from ship to ship playing games. And occasionally someone falls and goes into the icy water and everyone laughs. And you head to the Cutlass Inn, where it's just this man-of-war-sized tavern of different parts of ships.
Can I ask you a question? And I look at Warren. Why did that small dwarf man think that they'd be unagreeable to this? They look very jovial.
You mean to helping them?
Well, I don't really know what a pirate is, but this town is one of the most organized places that I've seen in our travels besides the big cities.
I think perhaps it is. It's different than when we were here before, for sure. Perhaps the King of Cells has become a bit more responsible or a bit more focused. But pirates are like people; they raid other people, steal their loot, and
Thieves
do
of the
such with it. Yes, thieves of the sea. That's a good term. That's a good term. But not all thieves are bad. Not all pirates are bad. It's a complicated thing, really. But
yeah, it's much like the giants and dragons.
yes. I know a man who used to prance around in the woods all the time and wore these green tights. I forget his name, but as he said, he would steal from the rich to give to the poor. So see, it's not all bad.
Okay.
Just gotta use your best judgment, really. Get to know a person. Use caution.
So we should be cautious with these people.
Oh, for sure. Yes, certainly.
Always.
Because that Griffin rider lady was remarkable. And the lady in the hospital was also quite... Okay. And he just kind of looks surprised. I mean, he looks surprised because everybody he's met here has been very, little girl was a little whatever, but it's been very agreeable. Just he's very surprised that everyone is so standoffish with these people here. It doesn't make sense to him.
Who's going in first?
I would like to go in last. No matter what.
Tavios will go in first, followed by Warren, and then Livy. At least that's how I would like it to go.
All right, Octavius walks in first and is immediately shot to death by hundreds of pirates that all turn. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we're not doing that to him. No, I got a thing for it. When we kind of look like to push through the door, Reich pushes Warren through the door.
I want to go through the door. It's fine. It's time to get your hands off.
Like, okay, guys, here we go.
All right, you push in, and as you go into the tavern, it's a much different vibe than the last time you were here. You look up, and the ceiling is just like maybe 30, 40 feet high, and there's a giant kind of crystal chandelier with many lights ringed around, different tiers kind of hanging down in the center. It really does kind of almost look like the interior of a ship, but in the most confusing and disorienting kind of way, because there's just different parts, and like the stairs aren't quite lined up, and there's this big kind of crescent staircase that carries up to the top half. There is actually 3 stories to the bar, even on the inside itself, and there's different bars at each level, and you just see that this time the bar is absolutely filled to the brim with pirates. But standing out almost immediately in the center of the room is Benigo Kurth, just sitting on this chair that's much larger than a normal chair, but he almost looks impossibly too big to be sitting on it. And you see all of his men and women around him cheering, whistling, and adoring him as he's just has this, it almost actually looks like a barrel of wine, like the size of a wine barrel, but he just has it on the table and he's picking it up and drinking from it heartily. And like Liviant, what you see, and I'll re-describe him because it's been a long time since you guys have probably even thought about this man, is this 7'2" monster of a old human individual. He's barrel-chested, and he looks like he must be half giant in some way, shape, or form. He has this short, cleanly kept white hair that's tightly pushed back, and this thick white mustache. He has a deep scar running from the top half of his forehead across one of his eyes that almost completely seals off his eye, and the scar continues running down towards his chin. You see these deep, soft, piercing hazel eyes immediately, although he doesn't look like he's paying much attention, lock in as you guys enter into the room. You see that draped over his shoulders is what looks like a military or pirate captain's cloak or jacket, much like the one that Lily wears, but this is like a white, pristinely white kept coat that he's wearing over his shoulders, and you see that his chest is exposed, and it is just absolutely jacked and ripped with muscles. Like he's one of those individuals that has like a 12-pack, and his 12-pack has a 6-pack, and his pectorals just seem to be angrily bulging at you, and his whole entire body is just absolutely covered in scars. He puts down the keg and lets out a deep belch. And as you look at him, it's like this direct contrast of a man. He looks like he shouldn't be alive, like he's too old and sickly to be living, but yet so muscular and fit that he almost refuses to die. And as you guys walk in, the bar kind of goes quiet.
Do it.
Yeah, and that's like once Rick walks through the door, not too oftentimes seeing somebody that's bigger than he is that's not a giant or whatever. Is that the one?
You look impressed.
Warren, he calls out to you, and says, "Back so soon."
You couldn't stay away for that long. I missed your ugly mug.
Well, my brief encounter with you lot tells me this can't be a good thing.
No, it is not. But don't let that damper the mood. We can talk about that later.
He smiles and says, "What? Did you replace the cat with a new little pet?" And he looks at
Yes, this is
Ryclifian.
my servant. My servant.
And I imagine it's just like one of those things when two like big buff men enter a room. There's just this instant like eye contact that locks on to each other.
Yeah. And,
Everybody's pecs wiggle.
And he doesn't do it very often, but he slides his mask up and actually takes it directly off of his head. And
Showing
looks
the
at
glowing
him
eyes.
and showing the glowing eyes, and he's got a wry smile on his face, and he's like, "Not too often I see a man bigger than I. It's very encouraging."
He laughs and says, "You got pretty eyes."
Yeah. You, to be able to... And Rake, when he chooses to talk, is not very often not right for words, but this man is impressive to him, and he goes, "So you run all of this? Right?"
Aye. He holds up his hands. "They call me Benigo Kurth, the king of sails." And as he says that, all of his pirate crew men all cheers and say, "King of the sails!" And he says, "I hate receiving bad news mid-buzz. And I have a good buzz going right now." He grabs his jug again, this barrel, and takes another huge, lengthy chug and sits it back down and burps and says, "Y'all look like shite right now. Come, sit, enjoy the Cutlass Inn and all it has to offer. I'll not have any of this serious discussion until we've drank enough to wake in the morning."
He starts to sweat a little bit.
The little worm of a man, I mean, Warren, I've never seen him drink a drink before, but I certainly will. There, Karth. And he walks up to him and he puts his hand out, as in that like two big men like forearm like handshake thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And walks up to him and with a show of respect, goes up to greet this man.
Yeah, and he gives you it's not too often that you feel your hand shaked equally as strong, and if not, you begin to wonder if it's like that's that handshake where he's holding it a bit too tight and you're doing your best not to even wince a bit, but you're just whew, you take a sigh when he lets go of your hand. Everyone begins to cheer and go back to drinking. He calls you up to the big main table that he's drinking at. As you walk by, you notice that you pass Neverender and a couple of his men, and they look absolutely terrified right now. They're just like sitting in a corner, patiently waiting, but just like sipping on drinks. And
how long are you gonna make them wait?
He says, "I don't know. Maybe I'll hear what they have to say till tomorrow. Personally, I think it's hilarious looking at them scared like that."
I think if you just bark real loud, they'd probably piss themselves.
"I think they already did."
Yeah, I think the little girl made him do that. She's a Spitfire.
Lily. More trouble than she's worth. But
adorable, though.
Yes. Spitfire.
The daughter
That's a
I
good
would
name
want.
for her.
But... So you talked about a drink.
You come to the right place, and already tankards are being brought to the table. And he says, "Like I said, not one bit of serious talk until I've drank myself to sleep, barfed a couple times, and woken up with regret. Lily, you look like you're about to say something. Don't you do it."
Yeah, and
Nothing serious. You can talk.
Slide the tankard to Olivia and go, "Drink."
I'll have none of this giant war shenanigans. None of it. I don't want to hear it until I'm good and hungover.
None. Absolutely none. Livy's going to try and find an opportunity to like slip away maybe to the kitchen where she can be like, I can at least busy myself back here while they drink themselves silly.
I think that they want pancakes, Olivia.
She didn't say this out loud. She's just here like, I don't drink much at all.
Yeah.
Like,
So why is there one fucking barbarian and then 2 people that don't drink? What the hell is going on here?
like
This is
Libby
so
will
weird to
have
me,
a
dude.
drink ever so often, but she you probably haven't seen like maybe a sip here or
Once or
there,
twice,
like
yeah.
a small tankard of mead. Like so, this giant ass lady, she's like, oh shit, I don't feel comfortable drinking this whole thing in this setting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Absolutely. You try to sneak off. Give me a stealth check because it's gonna be
Like
harder
she'll
than you
take
think.
a sip or two, just to be like, yeah, I took see, don't mind me. You guys enjoy yourselves. Oh, where's my sneak?
You came to the wrong place to stay sober.
Yeah, I can
yeah.
imagine.
17.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
able to basically keep their eyes off
I
of
need
people
to go
paying you.
pee.
Yeah, and you sneak away. There's absolutely nobody. There's what looks like a cook asleep on the prep table, absolutely hammered, drunk right now.
Okay. Livy will assess the materials she has to work with. Let's see if we can liven up. They're gonna need some good food for this hangover.
Yeah, absolutely. As for you guys, there's a lot going on in the Cutlass Inn. No one has to partake or anything, but there's a bunch of gambling games going on, much like the ones that were held at the Grand Dame. Obviously, none of these are sanctioned or legal, technically, but hey, you're in the free city of Luskin. You see arm wrestling tournaments, dagger throwing contests, bare knuckle brawls, tournaments going on. All of it's just happening in this area.
Well, I did use enough hit die. I used 8 of them and got to, even again.
All right, so you're back to full health.
Yeah.
All right.
And I used 8. So, as the night goes on a little bit and the liquid courage is certainly inside Reich, he'd noticed that arm wrestling table and be very interested in. So he looked at Karth and goes, "What is that?"
You're not from these parts, are you, my friend? That right there is what we call a true test of manliness.
Where I come from, it's more like that wrestling pit you have over there, but although those men are small, it's a test of strength.
Well, it's more of a contest between 2 individuals. You lock hands, and he just basically describes how to arm wrestle.
Yeah. And is there an entry fee?
You bet on yourself. However much money you put in is the chances of getting it back. We don't really have much rules around here.
Yeah, and looking, again, a little drunk, and I'm sure Warren is still sitting there with them, but not drinking, right? Because he doesn't drink, right? Yeah. He kind of looks over, it gets right in the face of Warren and goes, "You're going to bet on me, right?"
Totally. I love watching men measure themselves with each other.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not scantily-clad women that you can't have.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
And he starts to laugh as he looks at Karth and goes, "Who would love that?"
Kurth shrugs.
Yeah. It's kind of like 2 Bash brothers. I kind of feel like that. Like, they've been like kind of 2 meatheads, just like bonding per se. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he goes, "All right, I'd like to try that out." And if you give me a little liberty, if you don't mind, maybe like the first person that comes up, he just destroys. It's not even like a challenge. You know what I mean? And then he looks over. He goes, "A challenge, Kurth."
Everyone kind of.
I need a challenge. Your men are so puny.
Everyone actually laughs when you're saying that, like as if you're joking.
And again, he's put the mask back on. Well, no, he's left the mask off because he wouldn't be able to drink with it on. But he kind of looks and he
he for a second looks over his shoulder, and you can see his wife kind of just gleam in for a second, and she just kind of giggles and goes, "Don't get yourself in trouble, dear." And he just looks at her and goes, "Thanks for always having my back." And it goes, "Yeah, a real challenge."
Kurth belches and says, "You know, I've never once been beaten. It's been a long time since anyone's dared to challenge me."
No, I not like all the rest of these humanoids here. It's I have the favor of the gods, per se, I've been told. Let's do this, old man.
What do you have to put on the table to make it worth my time? What do I get to take from you?
I'll tell you what. They don't give me money. This little weasel man here keeps it all. But I do have this, and he lays the weapon on the table.
The blade of lineage?
No.
Or the giant, or the great,
Giant,
the
like,
great,
giant.
No,
just like bold move, Cotton. Let's see how this pans out. The giant slaying axe. Give me a persuasion check at advantage.
All right. And
You
what is
are
that?
you are walking into the tavern and challenging the undisputed champion. Of,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know. What does that give me? Does that give me as far as
that gives you a persuasion +1.
Yeah, I forgot. He's not. He's a feast or famine kind of character. I forget that. Yeah, it's only 15.
15.
Yeah.
He says, at first he says, "You're not worth my time. No offense, I like you." But then all the men around him seem absolutely disappointed and crushed because I thought that they were going to get to see a display of Kurth's power. And then he says, "But
maybe I'll tell you a bit about this weapon then, there, Kurth. With the incursion that's coming, the one on my back, it's weapon of my tribe, but I've been told and used it once that this axe here actually is quite good at slaying giants. It gives you much more."
As you're explaining this, all of his men begin to laugh. And you're not sure why, and you begin to get a little offended. Like, what am I saying that's funny?
Yeah.
Why are they laughing at me?
Exactly.
And he says, "Oh, that little thing. That's good at fighting giants, you say?" And he reaches behind him, and mounted to the back of his chair is this glaive. The bottom half of it, the pommel, is just tied and littered with different Jolly Roger flags. And the top half of the glaive is this pounded steel, sharp as a razor on the front, but the back end of it looks like pounded metallic waves crashing over themselves. And he says, "I'm sure that's a fancy weapon, but I fancy this a little better." And he pretends like he almost drops it, and it just touches the floor. And as it touches the floor, the entire bar begins to rumble. And he says, "Oops."
That's a cool trick.
But he says, "Going against you is a bit of waste of a time. No offense. I mean it as no disrespect. But I'm wasting my time anyways. Might as well have some fun." And he pushes the chair back and stands up. Now, imposingly tall. I don't know how tall you are, but
he's like 6'6", 6'7", something like that.
yeah, so he is even towering above you, and he calls you forth to the table. And this, my friend, is going to be a 3-part athletic challenge. Every time you fail, you are given a greater minus onto your next check. And then if you are if you lose 3 times, then you are considered defeated.
Okay. Is this these are strength checks?
Yep, this is athletics.
Okay. I'm going to make the first one at just a normal check.
Okay.
And then if need be, maybe I'll bring in that rage. But yeah, let's go at it. Ooh, that's not bad. What is my plus on that? I rolled a 17 and a die.
That's hilarious. Athletics, you got a +8.
Yeah, so that's 25.
So you guys link hands, and the room becomes filled with tension and
Like
expectations and mumbling, and you guys grip, and you just feel this imposing power of Kurth, and then you just kick off and give it at first, not going full rage mode, but you just know that you're in for a challenge, and you begin to pull as hard as you can, and immediately your biceps begin to just bulge, and you actually catch Kurth off guard. And at first you pull forward and you already have him at the halfway mark, and then he immediately just stops you. I rolled absolutely almost as bad as I possibly could. So you have the advantage right now, as one success is for you, and now Kurth has a minus to his roll.
Yeah.
All right, go again.
Yeah, so not feeling like he has to, you know what I mean? He's gonna keep pushing. After he loses one, he will definitely use rage. But let's see. Yeah, that was not good. That's 15.
Yeah, so 15, you come in and a smile goes across your face. This man is just... Go ahead. 16? This man is big and muscular, but you've faced off against giants, and you think now that he's all talk, and you go to pull. But then to your surprise, as you have him kind of at that 45-degree angle, you just push to go to finish him, and not even a millimeter budges. As you look up now, you see that he actually yawns at you. And even with a -5, he still is in the 20s and just slowly begins to pull you back to the neutral position now. You both are at a -5 to roll now.
All right. Yeah. So at this point, you'll see that his eyes, well, they don't widen because he's put down the mask for this. But maybe they flare some, there's more blue. And he kind of looks, and he's looking back and forth. Maybe catches eyes with Warrendale, who I'm assuming would be watching, or probably not watching because he doesn't give a fuck about anything. But it kind of flares up. And you see little wisps of blue come off of his shoulders. And maybe just a quick glimpse of a face, and then another quick glimpse of a face. I am going to rage, but you're starting to see his ancestors kind of blink out a little bit. And it looks like maybe they're in the crowd at this point a little bit, and they're watching on and cheering Reyklivian on. So now I'll get advantage on that.
All right, go for it. You look over to see what Warrendale's doing, and I imagine he's already like cozied up to 3 girls that are now around him.
4, actually.
Yeah, 4. Not paying attention even the slightest to you.
Okay. Like I said, he don't care. All right, so here we go. Oh, wow. Here, I'm gonna show you something. Let's see if I can get that.
I can't see.
You can't see it? I did that interesting natural 20 and a 1.
That is interesting because I too rolled a natural 20.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right,
so what is your modifier? Or what do you end up with?
28.
He rolls a final of 32.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Well, 28 minus 5.
Yeah, and then 32 minus 5. But that's hilarious that you rolled.
Still 5 more than mine, yeah.
I shit you not. I too rolled a natural 20.
Oh, I believe you. You know what I mean? But it's I don't know. With those naturals, maybe we just kind of push for more time, and it's not.
Yeah, so what happens is your ancestors begin to peer around you and support you and say, you hear your wife cheering you on, Laura Wynn, saying that you can do it.
No, she hasn't showed up yet. I'm going to do it here.
All right, not yet. And as you do, you just give like almost everything that you have, but then you're just met with a grunt and a roar of Kurth as he too begins to just channel rage, and the table beneath you guys begins to actually like crack and crumble and fall, and it's actually like even the chairs are beginning to groan under the weight of you two. He has the advantage though, and one more, so now you're at -5 and disadvantage, but since you're at advantage, it just cancels it out.
Yeah, it's just cancels it out. All right, so. All right, so what we're gonna do is this. So he does take it, and you know what I mean, and he's maybe pushed to like whatever 30 degrees. And Reich looks and uses as much as what he has in him, and steps out behind him is Lorwyn, and she kisses him on the cheek. And when that kiss happens, he also casts Radiant Soul on himself, and wings come out from his back. And it gives extra radiant damage. I don't know how that would, what that would do here, but I'm just using it for flavor, obviously. You know what I mean?
I'll let you cancel out the -5, so it's just a flat roll.
Okay, so it's just a flat roll with a flat roll.
Yeah.
And he maybe does rise up off the ground a little bit, you know what I mean? And and flares and everything's getting crazy. So let's see. It's not bad. 17 on the die. It's a 17, 25.
Oh, that's so close. I'm so sorry. 26.
Oh my god. Wait, do I got anything? What do I got? Let's see. Shh. Tell me how to live my life.
Nothing up your sleeve?
I'm just trying to see. Is there anything else? I don't know. I don't have anything else I think that would buff.
Yeah. I don't really think looking at your abilities that there's anything that you could really call upon. So what happens is Lorwyn steps up, and Kurth actually is momentarily broken from this rage that he now finds himself in, and you actually like both shatter the chairs, now shatter the table, and you guys are just like now standing locked in arms, and you can just like feel the radiant light coming from you and just this like powerful buzzing energy coming from Kurth, and you're just standing there locked into each other, and he sees all this going on, and you momentarily rise, and he smiles and says, "You're good. I like you. But you're not good enough." And then with just one powerful thrust, he takes your whole body and just with his arm throws you into the ground, and you just like break into the floorboards. Everyone erupts into cheers and chaos, as unfortunately that was so close. But
yeah, so close, man. Yeah, it's so good. It was awesome.
Yeah. You're not hurt or anything. You're just picked up immediately as
Yeah, and I kind of rise back up with the wings, kind of land on the ground in front of him, and I go in to shake his hand again, with the same hand and so on and so forth, and give him the same amount of strength that he gives me, as close as it can be, per se.
Yeah.
And I kind of give him a hug around his back, and not that either of us are hurt, I do use the amount of radiant healing that I have to kind of course between our two bodies. And I show the respect, take his hand with both of my hands, put it to my head, and go, "You're a fine warrior. I see why these men and women follow you."
Give me a perception check, actually.
Yep. It's not bad. 15 plus 1, 16?
16. As you say that and you kind of put your hand on his back, he almost goes to nudge off the healing a bit and tells you not to do it. But as you look at him, he's actually labored breaths. And he wipes his nose, and you see on his hand that there is blood. But he quickly hides, and he says,
And I do pump that healing into his body. I don't know how much it is. I can't see it.
he'll actually push it away and say, "Can't let any of my men see that. Come on, I won fair and square.
Yeah,
Quit trying to take the higher route."
Yeah,
And he looks
and I
at you.
lean in, and I lean into him, and I go, "I fully understand, but how about the kiss of a beautiful woman?" And Lorian does come over and gives him a kiss in the cheek, which doesn't look so strangely this incorporeal woman. And can I still pump that into him at that point? You know what I mean? Because it's not coming from me. You know what I mean? You see what I'm doing here?
Yeah, I can see what you're doing. There's just a weird. I'm trying to think. Give me.
Just a weird dynamic to it. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't. This is something that they've seen before, and if you remember, you've seen before. He doesn't like being healed.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're gonna surprise him with the surprise ghost kiss, there's really no way that he can resist that. So yeah, you do it. He doesn't look pleased by it, but he says, "Keep your axe. I think you're gonna need it more. But as payment, when this is all done, I want you to come back and work on my ships for a year. I think you have a lot of potential."
That would be quite the honor. They're king of the cells, right?
Yep.
Yeah, king of the cells. I don't have to surrender under that little girl, right?
We'll see how the orientation goes.
She's well, actually, now I'm thinking about it, I do want to serve under her.
Between me and you, she still hasn't sailed yet.
Oh, well, fun.
I'm sure she'll be wonderful at it.
But yeah, you guys go back to the table. Is anybody else doing anything? I know Livy's back in the kitchen frantically looking for food, but as each cupboard you open, it's just like rum, booze, liquor, vodka. Like, what the hell's going on? Where are these?
What kind of establishment is this?
Yeah,
you cook this fast out.
She'd like peek. I imagine she'd also like kind of peek out ever so often, just like how the guy's doing, and she'd caught the glimpse of the arm wrestling and whatnot. And when it seems like people settled back down, she just kind of slipped out with, and just kind of sit back down like, hey. It's just like act as chill and like, so how'd it go?
He's really strong. But I respect a man as amazing as he actually invited me to come back after we're done with all this.
Oh,
And
congrats.
I lean in just to Lily to say that it wasn't to Warren.
Well, Warren wasn't the one up there arm wrestling him. Well, now was he?
No, he would have got thrown to the floor.
That is pretty funny.
Actually, hey Warren, you want to try that arm wrestling? I got another one in me.
He's busy kissing the ladies.
I'll try ya.
And there was another table, and he does go over, and it gets lined up to you, and he's probably mostly cocked at this point, and goes over and throws the match and lets you beat him.
Yeah, with a 9. Ha! So he was like, but she's not stupid either. She'd be like,
Yeah.
You're fine. Thank you for not breaking my arm.
It's just you're the only one I like here, Olivia. I've told you that before.
Aw.
It's
Hey, that paladin guy's not bad.
yeah, it's
probably the pancakes, really. Just saying.
I really think it's and he's starting to do that like stand on his feet like swirl thing when the alcohol's really starting to hit you.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
And he's like,
I want to sit.
you are the one guiding light of this whole crew that we have going on here.
There's the one that prays all the time, and he's like kind of on his back heels. And this is the one.
He's like, I'm gonna stand up and make sure I step out the way, depending on which way he falls.
Because you know what's coming.
Like, uh-huh.
Yeah, it's Warren's just a piece of blue.
And I imagine just passed out onto the floor.
Yeah, it throws them all over the place, all over the table and everything, and like it smashes through that armrest of the table. It passes out the floor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to do before the night ends?
Does Libby and Warren, or the group in general, have a place of establishment that Libby can like make her way back to? Like,
Kurth has absolutely insisted that you guys are staying here tonight.
okay. So he like looks around the place like, I just need a door with a lock on it.
Yeah, you'll be given one.
My room is always open.
Strangely enough, Warren, I totally trust your room too. I guess of this place, if I couldn't have my own room, sharing a room with you would be the next best thing. So.
Yes, I know.
All right then. Warren, you're not doing anything in particular?
Nah, nothing major.
Okay. Listen,
Chilling with the ladies.
Yeah. You chill.
Pirate ladies are my jam.
All right. Well, the night goes on into the early morning and then into the late morning and eventually into the afternoon and then into the next evening.
Back to the kitchens, hoping that maybe something would have materialized overnight.
No. And Rake passes out for a couple hours and wakes back up and starts drinking again, with Garth. You know what I mean?
And
high school frat party, you know what I mean?
you guys actually don't, or the party actually doesn't shut down until actually, for real, noon the next day. And then finally, Kurth has called it the night and everyone has to sleep it off, he says. So at noon the next day, everyone goes for a long rest and a sleep. You guys can, I'll just update the character sheets with a long rest. You guys don't have to worry about that. And then you actually, kind of disorienting to yourselves, wake up in the night again. So you started partying at night and then annoyingly, I guess Livy, you probably just bored out of your mind waiting for it to happen, to end. But the next night are awoken to a screeching hangover for anyone who drank Reikliviant. I don't know if Octavius would have.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to call it. I'm making a Constitution saving throw.
Yeah.
It's not bad. 14 plus whatever that is. I think it's like 6 or so of that. So 20.
Yeah. Your call then if you're not hungover that bad, but you partied pretty hard.
Yeah, he hasn't raged like that since way back in the day back with his people.
Mm-hmm. And you guys sit down and begin to go to business. To make a long story short.
Spry, hey.
Yeah, Livy's feeling great. Warren probably also feeling not too bad. To cut to business, Kurth basically tells you that he is completely aware of the conditions that the coast is at. He knows that L'Ariel Silverhand held the council and she band together the factions against the giant threat. He's impressed by this, for he knows that the folks who live by law often never see eye to eye. She pleaded for a defensive action, though, and someone on fire.
Yeah.
All right. As Reiklivian threatens to put out the fire of his house, he tells you that he will agree to using the ships to redistribute and defend the coastline, but his men are warriors of the sea, not to be fought on land. That's all he agrees to for Neverander and sends him on his way. But then as he goes and looks content, Neverander, Kurth then looks to you guys and says, I know you didn't come here to party. Can tell that at least a lot of you don't party very much at all.
I feel like, as like a band of brothers that started between these two men, no, not at all. There, King. We need to get to these isles where the actually King of the Giants is being held. And if we release him, I think that all this will end, possibly.
Yeah, and I imagine you say that, and he's like, whoa, what the hell are you talking about, King? He's like, no clue. You just kind of came into it dry, but then you fill him in on everything that has happened.
Yeah. And he starts talking Hekaton, and that we helped his daughter, and so on and so forth. And again, he's not dumb by any means. You know what I mean? So he's recanting all of everything, and he just lays it all on the line for Kurt, just to let him know what the real story of what's going on here is. Yeah. And not, what it is, and the reason why the Giants are running so rampant, and that really behind all this is a dragon that is duped everyone.
Takes in, as you guys just info dump on him, the entire thing that you guys have been brought through. He nods. Contemplates, strokes his long kind of curly white mustache, and he'll look to you, Orendel, and say, and you lot think you can stop it then? You think that this King Hekaton can unite the giants and bring them to heel?
If not unite them, then put a stop to all of this madness. At least put it under control so that we might better deal with the situation. That seems to be the belief, anyway, of most of the others, those we've talked to.
I believe his daughter, who has been petrified, and if he comes back, I know that he'll be able to at least stop that. And with the blessing of that beautiful young woman, I believe that that Daddy's little girl might be able to bring him around and know what the right answer is here.
He nods.
She trusts their king.
Says, it wasn't too many years ago that people thought that Luskan was absolutely chaotic and uncontrollable. The pirates of the different factions fought for years and years and squabbled over petty little treasures and plots of lands and ships. But then I came, and I brought Luskan to what it is today.
It's quite magnificent, King.
A king has power. I agree. And if the giants are missing theirs, then he needs to be found.
So do you think you and your men can help us then? Because it's not going to be an easy fight, I don't think.
Me and my men have the fastest, strongest ships on the Sea of Swords. With us in my fleet, there is nothing that could stop us. And as soon as he says that, there's an absolutely massive explosion in the bay that rocks the ship. Pirates and people are momentarily thrown over and kind of shifted around in the ship. The chandelier begins to shake and crumble. Pieces of the building begin to fall.
That's not good.
Curse.
And I would run out to there's windows, right?
Yeah, there's windows. You know how like the Man of War has those like little cannon doors that you like flap up the piece of wood and we roll the cannon out? That's what it literally has for windows.
Yeah. Little bond doors. And if there's, he doesn't even go to one that's open. He just goes to one that's closed and pushes it open.
Yeah.
And then looks out the porthole.
give me a perception check. What is everybody else doing also?
Yeah, Warren would be running over as well to take a look.
Yeah, not great. It's only 11.
Hold on. Skills. Perception. No. 21 for my perception.
21. And Livy managed to make pancakes somehow.
That wasn't joking with what the others wrote.
Pour liquor-filled pancakes.
It's just like the rum being poured into a frying pan. Just like, why isn't it cooking?
These are the best pancakes you ever made, Olivia.
Rum cakes.
As you push open the cannon door windows and look out, it's dark out again now that you've slept through the afternoon into the night, but the bay is on fire. And panic is starting to ensue as some of the pirates are like, was that a misfire? What's going on over there? Attack. It couldn't be an attack. No one would attack us. And
That
Kurth
dragon that may have their curse.
stands up, using his glaive to kind of push himself up. And for such a powerful man, it does look like he literally struggles to get moving around, and he begins to limp his way out into the dock district. Do you guys follow?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
You see that the bay a few hundred yards away is just exploded with flames, and there is a debris left of one of the ships that is kind of running parallel to where the river splits the half of Luskin. So there's a river that runs right through the middle of Luskin, the River Miar, and basically one of the ships that lay in that river bank is just absolutely, actually several of them are absolutely destroyed. And you see these bow and arrows just being pulled back, and litters of fiery arrows being shot into other ships' sails and catching another ship on fire. The sails light up rather quickly and then catch another sail on fire, and it begins to spread like wildfire, actually. And you begin to hear the men yell that we're under attack. And you begin to hear the hoops and calls of wild sounding attackers. I don't think any of you would understand the language. What language does everyone speak really quick?
I think he's Celestial and Common, and I don't know. You have it.
Yeah.
But I know.
Yeah, you
Common, Draconic, Elvish, Infernal, Primordial.
No. All right, so yeah, and then what you do see though is mounted on these strange kind of raft-like ships in the darkness seem to be a platoon of maybe like 20, you can't really fully count, but just people riding in on rafts, shooting fiery arrows and throwing makeshift bombs into the ships. It's ridiculously too small of a attack to ever have any chance of succeeding. There's thousands of ships in this bay, and there's just maybe like 40 individuals on this it's long rafts, but it's still just two like basically what look like rafts riding in and attacking the ships.
I've never done this, but I can do this, and I know I can. I kind of at the top of my weapon on the mall side, I cast light because you can do that.
Yep.
Onto the end of that.
Okay.
And kind of shine it up towards the sky-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And look around the sky, because that is not what created that explosion.
That is not. And as you do that, I'm just gonna say you see it, or you hear it at first. This whistling sound, and then suddenly a ball of what looks like magma is flying through the sky, whistling, and coming right for you guys. It's literally going to hit the cutlass in. Kurth jumps up and goes to strike it with his glaive. But he's overcome by it. Slammed into the water and vanished.
Oh no.
What do you guys do?
And there's nothing to see where that came from.
Not as far as you can see. As you look, though,
And we've seen a couple of dragons at this point. Did it look like a dragon's fireball, or did it look like something different than that?
did not look like a fireball from a dragon.
Okay.
As you wait, though, you hear a whistle again, and then another whistle, and then another whistle, and then lighting up the sky are more and more balls of magma, some going towards the dock district, some going towards the city, some slamming into the walls. It seems like the city of Luskin is under attack.
Fire giants attacked us the last time we were here, so. But he doesn't know. Reich doesn't know this, but Corey does.
We're gonna quickly cast mage armor. At least get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely get into a defensive position and start helping the pirates around to maybe start mobilizing. But what he'd mostly like to do is try to find out where Kurth went.
He went straight into the bay. The rock, his glaive just connects with it momentarily, and then he goes to just shatter it. But for some reason, the ball of magma does not shatter. And then he's just overcome by it and sent in deep into the bay. For all you know, dead, but not in your vision right now. And then the raft of arrowed individuals finally comes up to the dock and begins to dismount dozens of shadowy figures, some small and maybe 3 to 4 feet, others larger, all piling off, and they begin to engage with the Kurth pirates.
Are we gonna go with this battle right here? Because it's getting to be where we kind of usually stop.
We're gonna cliffhang in about a second.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see how much to get prepared.
No, you're fine. And basically, to hit you with the end, after everyone has dismounted from these long, strange, dark-looking rafts, erupting from the water is a dark-skinned, red-beard, towering, tall, heavily armored fire giant that then takes what you thought at first were these two dark rafts, but turn out to be these absolutely massive spiked tower shields, one in each hand, and then slams one into a boat and then slams another into the boat and yells out in giant.
The only person. Wait, does Olivia speak giant?
No, Tavius would.
Octavius does.
Yeah.
Octavius does speak giant, but since he had to dip, you guys aren't going to get to know what it said until next session. That is where we are going to end it.
Yes! Fire giants!
The fire giants have come. The Battle of Luskin will continue. It seems like Luskin is a war zone for some reason. Anyways, guys, I hope you had some fun. I guess that was a really RP heavy session.
No, it's cool. I enjoyed it.
But a lot of familiar faces that you've met along the way reintroduced.
Love it.
The giant threat continues. We will pick up when we can. I know the schedules are a bit hectic now, especially for Dan, so hopefully we can get back to it soon. We only have a few more sessions to get through, but hopefully we can do it all as a unison and finish up